What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I'm gonna be talking about the passing of eras. Now, the reason why I kind of wanted to touch on this was just kind of like the stars aligning with a few things this week I'm gonna talk about later on, but like specifically, My Hero Academia manga ended this past week, and then I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine last night with my son, and just some other life stuff that's happened that's just kind of made me like reflect on errors and the passing of errors, but also things that remain constant throughout. So, as always, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and or watcher, then welcome back. Y'all know here at Daddy's to Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, and of course, video games. Speaking of video games, I am rocking my brand new Defining Duke Health is Wealth shirt that I ordered a while back that finally came in. If you know, you know. Shout out to Maddie and Lord Cognito, though they will probably never see this, but shout out to them nonetheless for the mantra. Uh, but yeah, so I hope everybody out there is doing well. Things are going pretty good here. Kind of got a little bit of stability going on right now as we kind of are making our way through helping some family out with some stuff, and then school starts next week. So let me see, it is currently Tuesday, August 6th. They start in 6 days, August 12th. So your boy planned ahead this time. I am taking off of work first 2 days of school, and I think going forward, as long as I am able to, first couple of days of school going forward, I think I'm gonna just take off of work, just to kind of have flexibility to be able to be available and respond if I am needed, or if, who knows what might happen or whatever. Especially as we're kind of shifting uh, through a couple of different phases and stuff. Because like my oldest three, they will be in ninth grade, but as I've mentioned before, this school district is so weird. Well, weird for me as somebody who came up in a very small country town, but their school district, they have ninth grade is at the middle school. So, like our district specifically, it is pre-K through sixth grade at the elementary, and then it is seventh through ninth at middle school, and then 10 through 12 at the high schools. But in my kids' case, because they do athletics, and some of them might potentially be on varsity as freshmen, so that kind of throws a good but a busy wrench into the equation, because if they have athletic things that they have to do before school, then that's just extra preparation we got to do to where, one of them, two of them, all three of them, we don't know schedules and stuff yet, but might have to get dropped off at the high school, which is fine. And then, once they do their morning workout or whatever, then they have a bus that will take them to, you know, their respective middle schools and stuff, whatever, for the day. And then at the end of the day, they'll get on the bus again to go back for more training and stuff. So yeah, so that's gonna cause some, just some adjustments, getting used to the schedules and stuff, whatever, and just making sure, me and my wife are coordinated and on the same uh, wavelength communication and stuff, whatever, especially depending on, you know, what she might have scheduled to do for her work and stuff, whatever. So, but yeah, but anywho, that's kind of where we're at now, just kind of ramping up, getting stuff prepared or whatever for back to school in the coming days. Um, I've also kind of been dealing with some unfortunate timing of some passing of some people that I knew or whatever. One of which was a classmate that I grew up with or whatever. Got a, as I'm sure a lot of us out there do, whatever. There's a Facebook group for my graduation class, whatever. And so one of my classmates, she had shared the news that one of our classmates had passed away Friday. So, that was just kind of like one of those things of like, just anytime dealing with stuff like that is just always tough. And especially when it's like, man, it's like we're just early to mid 30s, and it's like, man, he's already gone and stuff. So, and then also hearing about a close family friend, somebody who was a close friend of my mother's, had passed away as well. But she was, I think, 79. But somebody that I am forever grateful for, just for all the help that she provided. Me and my mother, specifically my mother, for sure. Just over the years and stuff, whatever, friendship and, bonds and stuff, whatever. And she had a granddaughter who was the same age as me or whatever. So, I knew the grandmother long before, the granddaughter and stuff had moved down and stuff. But, we grew up together and stuff. But, it's just one of those things to where it was like, the grandmother was on my mind last week or whatever, and then I got that news because I've thought of her often, especially since my mother passed almost 4 years ago now, which is crazy to think about. But she moved out of state or whatever with her kids and stuff, obviously, because she got older and stuff. But just from time to time when I'm just sitting back and just reflecting on the past and life and family and stuff, whatever, like I said, she has always been a constant and stuff. So I'm trying to see if I can get stuff lined up here at the house so that I can hopefully try to make a trip back home to attend her funeral this weekend and stuff. So, but we shall see. But I feel like, just out of respect and honoring not just what she's done in general for my family, but for my mother specifically, I need to try to do everything I can to try to make that trip. So, yeah. So, but going back to a little bit more positive route. So I'm trying to think. Obviously still been enjoying the Olympics and all that stuff, whatever. I kind of want to just touch on a couple of things. So just going to give a brief shout out to a game I've been dabbling in and playing a little bit, called Arranger. So this is one that I was very excited about just because I really enjoyed and liked the look and art style of it. It is a kind of like a puzzle adventure type of game, to where you basically play as this young girl. I believe her name is Gemma, I believe. And basically the levels and stuff are kind of like grid / tile based, and literally as your character moves, everything on that same plane, the squares on that same plane, are moving with you. And so you can kind of start to picture how that might play into doing puzzles, maneuver around the environment and different things like that or whatever. So it's been a nice, fun little challenge and stuff, to where it's just kind of like, just going through the different levels and the story and stuff, and just trying to solve these puzzles and figure out these different rooms and levels and stuff, whatever. So it's been something I just been slowly just chipping away at a little bit here and there. Over the past few days, I decided to pick it up because it was only like $15 or something or whatever. Just because I'm trying to just get like little things to play in the lead up to Concord in a couple weeks, and then after that, Astro's Playroom, or Astrobot specifically is the name of the new game. Which, speaking of which, so I have enjoyed. They've been doing, and I can't remember if I've mentioned this or not, but on Astro's Playroom, that if you have a PS5, it is free to play. It is free to download, I should say. It is a single player platforming style game where you play as this little robot named Astrobot, and it's basically a journey through PlayStation history. So all the different levels and stuff are kind of like themed like you're inside of a PlayStation 5, but different characters and different stuff within the levels reference a multitude of things all across PlayStation's history. And so, like I said, that came out at launch with the PS5, so going on 4 years ago now. And so, in the lead up to Astrobot, they've been doing slight updates to Astro's Playroom to where they've added some secret characters in there or whatever for you to find that go into this secret room. So basically, as you plan throughout the game or whatever, you're earning these coins and stuff, whatever, like Mario, and you're unlocking these puzzle pieces and different artifacts and stuff, whatever, which are all relics from PlayStation history. So like all the different consoles and all their variations, controllers, different peripherals, and everything in between. And there's this one room in the game that just has all this stuff on display, and it's very dope. There's like a whole PlayStation 1 section, 2, 3, 4 with PlayStation 5 in the middle. Well, obviously, since the PS5 originally launched, they've done a slim design of the PlayStation 5. They've released the PlayStation Portable. They've released Portal. They released the PlayStation Portal. They released the DualSense Edge controller, so in the new PSVR 2 headset. So they created this new secret room within that kind of like memorabilia room, whatever, with the new additions, whatever, as well as like a little section where the little Astrobots are in there working away with the countdown up on the wall to the new game or whatever. So anyway, I'm saying all that because so they've been putting in these new characters and stuff, whatever, and each of them have like a little puzzle or something that you have to solve to free them, and stuff like that or whatever. But the stuff you have to do to unlock them, whatever, are so obscure to where you're like, yo, I could have never figured this out, because each time I have legit tried to figure out or whatever, because when you load into the game, it'll tell you like, hey, something showed up in, and it'll tell you specifically which level, which is cool. Well, this new one they released the other day, whatever, released in Cool Springs, which is basically like the first, like the opening level of the game. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna run around trying to figure it out or whatever. And I found some hints and clues for unlocking it or whatever, but I could not do it. So I ended up looking it up on YouTube or whatever. And there were like freaking like 5 starfish, purple starfish scattered across this beach. And 3 of them you had to hit or walk over in a specific sequence, which then revealed the locked away Astrobot, which is cool. But then you have to go around to the other side of the level. There's a hidden like steering wheel thing underneath the seashell that you have to press the start/options button at, and then move your cursor through the game menu or whatever in a certain pattern, like you're in like a race or whatever. And it's like, yo, how would I have known or figured this out? So it's like, I appreciate them doing some little Easter egg stuff, whatever, but it's like, don't make it so obscure that it's like, yo, this is not even fun. But anywho, so shout out to that stuff, whatever. Like I said, I'm just kind of just waiting for the buildup of Concord and Astrobot or whatever in the coming weeks and stuff. Like I've mentioned before, I think I might have mentioned last week or whatever, but it's like Star Wars Outlaws. I think I might just wait on that or whatever, and then get it in like a month or so or whatever. Speaking of gaming stuff, just what's it called? Avowed, the new Obsidian RPG game. So they announced that got delayed until February of next year, which I'm not surprised, because there were kind of like 3 big RPGs scheduled for the end of this year. It was Avowed from Obsidian, Dragon Age, The Veil Guard from BioWare, and then the Starfield Shattered Dimension, Shattered Space, whatever it was, from Bethesda. So it's like, okay, we're in August, and or even going through like towards like the end of July into the beginning of August now. It was like, okay, neither of these three things have a date yet. And the runway for the rest of the year is getting shorter and shorter. And I kind of figured, like just thinking about, okay, we try not to step on too many toes, because there's also that new game from the Persona people called Metaphor Fantasia, which is also another big RPG in the mix or whatever. But that one already has a date for like October or something or whatever. But anywho, so of the Starfield expansion, Dragon Age, and then Avowed, it was okay. More than likely, one of these is gonna move or whatever. And so Avowed finally came out, and they're like, hey, just to kind of give ourselves more breathing room and more stuff time or whatever. We're gonna move to February of next year, or whatever. So it's like, okay, cool. That cleared out the way, and so now it's like, okay, now where are the other two going to land? A lot of people speculate the Starfield DLC will probably come in September, because that's when Starfield released last year, was in September, so it makes sense a year later to do that. And then Dragon Age, who knows? But anywho, so that's it for gaming stuff. I just wanted to shout out that stuff very quickly. Anime wise, I just want to shout out. So a while back, I had ran into a quote unquote issue with Crunchyroll and English dubs, because I was sitting here in my little space watching it here on my PC, on my monitor or whatever here, and there was a couple of shows I was curious about checking out because they have some English dubs or whatever. So I've already been watching Aya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian, but an English dub came out, so I was like, oh, I'll check out, just see how that goes. Well, on a base level, it's fine, but when the character was speaking in Russian, when you're watching in Japanese or whatever, they translate it or whatever on the screen. The way my settings were for the English dub, it was not showing it, so that kind of ticked me off. And then around the same time, I was like, oh yeah, I want to at least maybe watch an episode of that Dead Demons Destruction or whatever anime, because that's also been simul dub. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I started watching the dub. Show looks fantastic, sounds great, but there was a lot of stuff like signage and different stuff, whatever going on, that was not translated. So I'm like, so I switched over to the sub just to compare, and like, yeah, I'm like, okay, this is another one. And then there was an anime I dropped, I think last year or so, called Handyman Saito in Another World or something like that. Let me see. Yeah, Handyman Saito in Another World. I dropped it last year. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it at the time. Well, I decided to come back to it because I was like, you know what? As Rob J says, it is dubbed and done. So I was like, you know what? Let me circle back and watch this, because I always like having like at least like some type of dub to watch when I just want to relax or just while I'm eating or whatever. So same thing. Dub sounds cool. Watching it, I'm having fun with it. But then there will be like these transition scenes where there will be a line of like Japanese text on the screen or whatever. It's not translated. I am like, oh my god, this is infuriating. So I made a post on Twitter about it or whatever. So today, I'm home, currently at home by myself, whatever. So I'm out in my main room, watching Handyman Saito or whatever. And I noticed when it gets to one of those transition cards with the text or whatever, it's translated. So I'm like, oh my god, okay, so maybe it's just a setting or something or whatever, because I went through, tried out with Aya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian and the Dead Demons or whatever, and it all worked. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I checked the settings out there, whatever, and I come in here and check the settings on this, whatever. The difference was when you are watching English and then for subtitles, just pick English for subtitles. Uh, don't pick the English with the CC and the brackets, whatever, because that will not have on text, on screen text translated, whatever. Super dumb, but I am very happy that it was a simple, just user error problem that I was able to correct. So now I can start diving into some of these shows or whatever. So yeah. So just wanted to shout that out. Like I said, I don't have too much to say, whatever, on some other stuff. Cause Dahlia and Bloom was great as well. Wistoria was super dope this week. Um, Episode 7 of Code Geass Rose was super dope. I did a whole mini podcast episode about that a few days ago, so go check that out, to where I kind of just talked in depth about why this show deserves more attention, and then at the back half I went into specific spoilers about episode 7 because it was super dope. So watch Code Geass Rose. But yeah, so I think that's it for anime. And I'm going to briefly shout out some manga stuff, and then that'll kind of help me transition into my my topic I want to touch on. Okay, so I got a chance to check out a couple of new manga recently, which some of these I'm going to do separate things on in the future, whatever. But for now, I just want to just touch on it a little bit. Just because I kind of, like I said, I kind of been trying to get back into like a more regular groove of checking out some newer series or whatever and talking about them and stuff. So, uh, so this first one I just read last night. Just because off of the name alone and the premise, I was like, okay, I got to see what this is. So this one is called. It is from, I believe this one's from Yen Press. In Another World, My Sister Stole My Name. So, the thing with this one is that basically, you have these. So basically, you have this one sister, Ichika, and then she has an older sister named Karen. Well, Ichika has always had this mirror that she discovered at some point in time, whatever, that literally is a mirror to another world. Well, there was a little boy named Cecil that would always come and talk to her sporadically. It wasn't like a constant thing she had no control over when he would appear or whatever. But over the time, they would just talk, whatever, da 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 da. Well, one day, her sister and the mirror goes missing. Don't know, just gone for a whole year or whatever. Well, so then Ichika happens to find the mirror underneath the table or something or whatever, which she thought was weird, and then she gets stuck into the mirror. And so we transition to now she's in this other world, and she runs into her sister. But her sister has assumed her name and identity because that little boy that she used to talk to back in the day, whatever, is now a full grown adult or whatever, and he's the prince of this kingdom or whatever. And so the sister knew because Ichika always talked to Karen about, the conversations and different things about the little boy and blah, 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 blah. And so when the sister got transported or whatever, she used that information to play like she was the sister that he'd been talking to all these years. And now she's engaged to this prince, and she is seen as like this, like priestess or whatever that can heal and do all this other magic stuff, whatever. And so now Ichika has to use her sister's name, whatever, just for the time being to figure out what's going on and stuff like that. And so Cecil has a younger brother, who I'm blanking on his name. Shoot, I can't think of his name, but basically he has a younger brother, and she ends up getting betrothed to him or whatever because there's like some country policy of like otherworlders must be married into the royal family and all this stuff, whatever. So basically, it is this kind of like back and forth with her and her sister, her trying to figure out what's going on with her sister, her dealing with this brother who, you know, kind of has like a darker vibe to him and stuff, whatever, and a little bit more difficult to deal with, while also interacting with Cecil, the one that she actually knows. So it's a very just interesting mix of characters and situations and stuff, and just it's just ripe for drama and mess and different things like that are between these different siblings and stuff, whatever, because the two brothers have some type of issue or something going on with them as well. So, but yeah. So, In Another World, My Sister Stole My Name, Volume 1 from Yen Press. It'll be out later this month. Shout out to Yen Press for giving me access to a digital review copy of it. So, the other series that I checked out, and this one I picked up myself. This one is called Sister and Giant, which is also from Yen Press. So this is one that honestly, just from the cover alone, kind of caught my attention or whatever. But I was like, I don't know, you know, just from like the little bit I read of the synopsis or whatever, I was like, I don't know. Well, end of last week, I took a trip out to my local comic store just because I haven't been there in a while. Sometimes, you know, just need to get out the house, walk around, browse for a bit or whatever. So I went there, browsed for a bit and stuff, and they had a physical copy of this there or whatever. So I took a look, flipping through pages or whatever. First of all, the art looked freaking dope. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a looker. Looks super cool, whatever. And I saw somebody mention online somewhere that was like, yo, this is a little bit more darker fantasy or whatever than, you know, than it initially seems or whatever. So I'm like, So when I got home, shout out to Google Play Books, whatever. I always forget that they have free samples to try reading at least like a chapter or two of books and manga and stuff, whatever. So I found it on there, read it. Once again, the art looked fantastic, and the setup for the story, whatever. I was like, okay, yeah, I need to read more of this. So pretty much I'm planning when Volume 2 comes out in September, rereading both of them again together and then doing like a separate review for it then. But basically the setup and premise for this, whoops, well, I want to pop up. Come on. Basically you have this girl that gets transported, or she's in a unhealthy friendship kind of with this older girl, or like her senpai or whatever, and things happen. They end up dying together and getting sent to this other world or whatever. And so when she gets sent to this other world, she discovers this giant girl or whatever, and then they basically form a sisterly pact, to kind of just like help each other or whatever, because the human girl, she's trying to find her friend that should have got brought to this other world with her, and then the giant is trying to find her clan and stuff, whatever like that. But it is very dark, bloody, gruesome. Like, they get to the action very quickly because there's a shot, or there's a moment early on in the chapter where the main girl is, or basically there's this group of adventurers, that's what it was, that are coming in to try to pick up this quest or whatever. Well, the guild dude is like, hey, well, that quest has already been taken or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then the girl walks in and she's like, yeah, apologies if I stole your quest, yada, yada, yada. You know, we were just trying to do it, you know, because it's been sitting for a while. And so anyway, things escalate or whatever. The dude has an attitude. And so the girl has this bell that anytime she rings, the giant chick will come. So she's in there, whatever, while the dude is kind of like messing with her, whatever. Her hand moves and the bell jingles. Then we get a dope panel of the giant's foot just like, and leg just like kicking through the wall, the side of the guild building, and taking these dudes out or whatever. Like, from that moment I was like, oh, okay, we about the action or whatever. But the way things just kind of escalate from there, and you start to like learn more backstory on the giant girl and what's going on with her, and more backstory on like what really happened with the human girl and how what things led her to where she got to this other world or whatever. And it's like, okay, this is very interesting, especially some stuff that happens at the end, some reveals and things and da 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 da. It's like, okay, yeah, you got my attention. But yeah, so I ended up just buying it digitally because it was like $6 whatever on the Play Store. So I'm like, okay, cool. And luckily, I didn't have to pay out of pocket because I had all these like Google Play coins or whatever that just sit there, or whatever, and I had enough for basically $10, and the book was like $7. So I'm like, okay, cool, no money out of my pocket, literally. So, but yeah, so shout out to Sister and Giant. A young lady is reborn in another world. Like I said, Volume 1 is already out now. Volume 2 comes out middle of September. So look forward to hearing me talk about more of that in the future. So moving on from there. Before I get into like the topic or just kind of set stuff up or whatever, shout out to both uh Sakamoto days. For one, I caught up on that. I was like 7 or so chapters behind, so I'm caught up on that again, starting kind of like a new arc, whatever. But the author of Sakamoto days, and he did a color spread this week, whatever. Which the Sakamoto days color spreads always dope. But in the color spread, Shin has a stack of My Hero Academia volumes next to him, and he's reading one and crying and stuff, whatever. So I was like, that's super sweet and super dope. And then the other one was Oda from One Piece. The cover page of this chapter was like this like very dope image of Smoker. And so come to find out, so back way back in the day, when Horikoshi, the author of My Hero Academia, I think he might have still been like a teenager at this time, but he submitted a fan art of Smoker back in the day for like a contest or something or whatever. So anywho, he won, and that got put into like, I think it was like around like volume 70 something or whatever, that it was included in that volume, whatever. And so the fact that all these years later, this guy grows up, becomes a mangaka himself, whatever, and then for the finality of his series, somebody that he looked up to did a recreation of his fan art as the cover for this chapter, which is in the same issue as the final chapter of My Hero Academia. And so I was like, man, that is so dope. But also just like thinking about just like I said, going to the topic, whatever, eras and the passage of time and how series and different things come and go, but their impacts and stuff are forever. And the fact that Horikoshi, like I said, potentially as a teenager, submitted this thing, and it got put into, it won this contest, got recognized by the author or whatever, and then your series goes on a 10-year run, because My Hero Academia lasted from 2014 until this past week. So 10 years of My Hero Academia, and we got many spin-offs and stuff, which I won't go into too depth or whatever, because I did a whole separate My Hero Academia episode the other day, so go check that out. But just saying all that to say, eras and the passing of them, because even just in the last few years since I started doing this podcast and this channel and all this stuff, whatever, and just even like a little bit before that, going back to 2020, I've gotten a chance to actively be aware and around for the ending for a lot of series. Because before then, you know, I was like reading Bleach when that ended back in, that was what, 2016 or something like that or whatever. So I've seen, and Naruto of course and stuff like that or whatever, but the abundance of series that I've seen and witnessed coming to an end over the last handful of years or whatever, like I said, just like really made me just like reflect on stuff sometimes, because You know, Demon Slayer, Promised Neverland, Haikyuu. Those all three ended in the same summer, which was crazy. Um, and then of course, like last year was like Fire Force and Doctor Stone. Uh, Golden Kamuy we ended within the last year, and uh, My Home Hero ended recently, and the list goes on and on and on. Oh, Mashal ended earlier this year, end of last year, something like that. But all that to say, there's always going to be a new wave of things because, along with all the stuff I just mentioned, Jujutsu Kaisen isn't expected to last no longer than to the end of this year at the latest. Undead Unluck is kind of winding things down and things of that nature. And so, but there is always just a passage of time, a passage of eras. Um, and it has been fascinating. Attack on Titan, of course, that's a big one last year or 2 years ago now. Shoot, um, just all these different series that mean a lot to a lot of us have to come to an end sometimes. Of course, we know right now One Piece is the forever constant right now because, like I said, the fact that somebody can go from being a teenager that was a fan of a series to becoming an adult, creating their own series, the series lasting for 10 years, having multiple spin-offs and multiple movies and stuff, whatever, and but One Piece is still going and is paying homage to this kid, not a kid because Horikoshi's like he's like late 30s, I think, whatever now, but still in Oda's eyes, in comparison, that is kind of insane or whatever. But I do appreciate in some ways though that a lot of creators and stuff are going for a more tighter run to where hopefully they might be able to produce more than one series in their lifetime if they so choose. But of course, you have stuff like Isayama with Attack on Titan or whatever, to where that series is so big that he theoretically probably could not do do anything else or whatever, and he'll be fine the rest of his life just based off of the popularity and sales and everything from Attack on Titan or whatever. That could be his one and done theoretically, whatever. But so yeah, so I've been just about that, like I said, with Horikoshi and just with a lot of these other authors and these series coming to an end, and how even though they might be ending, sometimes these series leave such an impact that even though they may no longer be coming out or whatever, their shift or the way they shifted the industry or whatever, or the impact that they made, will be forever remembered. Because I know so many people who have the same story of they kind of, due to life and just different situations or whatever, kind of fell out of anime and manga for a while. But My Hero Academia was a series that kind of reignited that spark in them or whatever. And so that is just something, just like I said, just very interesting to just kind of like I said, reflect on. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Shonen Jump is going to be dead, with My Hero ending and Jujutsu Kaisen ending, and then, naming all these other series or whatever. But it's like, no, Shonen Jump ain't going nowhere. None of these magazines and stuff are going anywhere. There is plenty of stuff. There is always new stuff coming out. And shout out to Yato and Nox and stuff, whatever, for always constantly talking about newer upcoming series and stuff, whatever, which I'm gonna have to figure out something to get Yato on someday so we can talk about this more in depth. But there's plenty of stuff, because like prime example, when Fire Force ended, it was the passing of the torch to Gachi Okuda, which has been going on for a while now. It's well over, I think, like 100 plus 130 something chapters, whatever, or 110, 120 plus, whatever. but that was a passing of the torch because that author, she was an assistant on Fire Force, and Fire Force ended, and then like a month or two later, Gachiakuta started. So that passing of the torch. And like I said, same thing with this era with stuff that we're about to wrap up or whatever. You know, it's like, hey, you know, Sakamoto days, I think it still got a little whiles or whatever, but even that, you know, probably won't last too much longer. But it's like we got stuff like Freerin, like I said, Gachiakuta, uh, uh, the Bugle Call, what is it called? Chimera East, or Far East Chimera. That's the name of it. Gokuraki, Centurion, Chojin X. So many things. I'm looking through my freaking app. There's just like so many things. Kagurabachi and Blue Box and so on and so forth. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. There will always be something new to eventually take the place of what was. Tokyo Revengers. That's another one that ended a year or so ago, which that author has already started on a new series this year or whatever. So there's always a constant passing of things, and I'm glad, like I said, that series and stuff are kind of condensing or whatever to where creators have realized that, like, hey, I don't need to make a series that is, you know, 500 plus, you know, chapters or whatever. Like obviously One Piece well over 1100 plus right now. Kingdom 700-800 chapters deep, and stuff like that. But you can go for, you know, maybe a few hundred tops, but a lot of them are kind of getting like maybe 200, and then that's it. But you can have fantastic series like Delicious in Dungeon. That series is less than 100 chapters or whatever. Super dope. Doro Hidoro. That one was, now granted that series ran for a long time, but I don't know what the cadence of the releases was, but that one went for over 15 years. But the chapter count, it was under 200 chapters or whatever. And so I appreciate that authors realize, like, hey, I can tell a good story within a condensed amount of time and tell the story I want to tell without feeling like I need to like drag this out for decades upon decades. And so, like I said, with that being said, there's always, of course, those that need to reflect and remember on the things that came before, but I also don't want us to forever be trapped and tied to the things of yesterday, the things of the past, because like I said, there's always room and opportunity for new things to pop up, whatever. So, but like I said, it's just you opening your eyes and being open to more things, which is why, even though I don't have the biggest voice in the anime and manga space and community, whatever, but if I can just bring more attention to newer things to where it's like, okay, somebody gets to know me through the podcast or just through social media or whatever, and we have a common bond on, okay, hey, we both like One Piece, we both like My Hero Academia, we both enjoyed XYZ or whatever, well then I'll make a episode talking about Die Dark or Sister and Giants or Centurion or Orb or Magus of the Library or Karate Survivor and or Witch Hat Atelier. The list goes on and on and on and on and on, but that is, I think, where I have a strength in the space of I'm always in search of new and different and interesting things. Like I said, some of them come from people who are deep in the trenches of finding all this new and obscure stuff, whatever, that isn't going to be on the big Viz app and Shonen Jump app and Manga Plus, whatever. It's like, no, this is stuff that is still new, that hasn't really been picked up by anybody, whatever, but it's like got fan translations for the time being or whatever. But that is kind of like the starting point of, okay, the small minority of people go out and they have their own platforms and they're talking about the stuff where they're bringing attention to it, and then that eventually leads to, okay, hey, now somebody is going to, Yen Press, Kodansha, Viz, whoever is going to pick up and license this series and bring it to a bigger audience or whatever, hopefully, and bring it out physically or whatever, or put it up on their various apps and stuff, whatever, and then maybe even beyond that, someday getting an anime or a movie or whatever, or a live action adaptation, something, whatever, to help it grow. But like I said, it comes down to people like me using my voice, no matter how big or small it might be, to bring attention to stuff. Because like I said, it is still crazy that as somebody that, as of the time of this recording, I have under 400 subscribers on YouTube, and I don't get that many listens on podcast feeds or whatever, which is fine. But the fact that there are still certain series and stuff, whatever, that when you search for them on YouTube or on Google or whatever, I am one of the only people that talk about certain series, or that have mentioned certain new or unknown series or whatever. Or if somebody else has, it might be somebody that's overseas speaking a whole different language or whatever. But it's like, yo, am I the only one in the U.S. or in speaking English speaking countries or whatever that is even talking about this, whatever, when there are thousands upon thousands of people that do anime and manga content or whatever, or podcasts or whatever. So I take great pride in that, and that is why I kind of want to light the fire under myself again to circle back to doing more of this, whatever, because I saw, like I mentioned on a previous episode or whatever, a few weeks ago, when they announced that, okay, the Orb anime is coming out this fall, and hey, here's a trailer for it or whatever. I saw a spike in my review I did of this last year or whatever, a spike in my videos and stuff, whatever, because not many people are talking about or have talked about Orb, on the Movement of the Earth series or whatever. So people are looking for it. And even though, yeah, it's not getting, a lot of attention from people, like, oh, I'm going to watch this whole video or whatever, but just the fact that they were curious enough to go looking says a lot. And that's why it's like, hey, I don't care too much. It's like, it is what it is. But oh, the average view time is like a minute or 3 minutes, whatever, of this 10, 15, 30-minute long thing, whatever. That's fine. Just the fact that somebody was looking for it and they found me. But Benu, getting back on topic, whatever. But all of that to say that to all the My Hero Academia fans or fans of anything that has ended recently, whatever, you'll be okay. The thing might be over for now, but as long as you remember your memories and the impact it had on you or whatever, then it will not be forgotten. And like I've mentioned before, and I mentioned on the My Hero specifically episode I did the other day, I am also excited for the future of those that might be impacted by My Hero or any of these other series that have ended recently, whatever, and the torch passes on to something else, because even prime example, even though it didn't end well and it got axed, but the Hunters Guild Red Hood from a few years ago, back when I first started this freaking podcast, the creator of that was a former assistant of Horikoshi, because you can kind of see it a little bit in like the art style and design or whatever. But that was like a super dope world and setting and premise and stuff where it just didn't shake out, or maybe even get the opportunity to shake out into something grander. But that is what we can hope for, is that the things that we enjoy, for it to either inspire us to create or to do different things or to be better and greater, or for it to inspire somebody else out there in the world, and then they come back around and then give us something great, just in the same way that Oda inspired Horikoshi and that led to My Hero. Now that's going to pass the torch to a newer generation, a newer wave, that there might be somebody else over the next 5, 10, 15 years. There's like, oh, okay, that person was an assistant of Horikoshi, or this person was a fan and got inspired by this series, and now they created their own thing, years from now, whatever. So, but yeah, man, it's just something just very fascinating to think about across the board. Like I said, not just with manga, but with anime and video games, and just so many things that can, take inspiration from a previous generation and then use that as fuel for a new thing and create something beautiful into the future. And so that is all I feel like we can ask for in these scenarios. It's just to cherish the things that we love and we enjoy, and to hope that either we get some more greatness from the same creator, or that it sparks something within someone else down the road and they give us a future great thing, and stuff. So but yeah, so shout out to Horikoshi. Like I said, if you want more specifically just My Hero focused thoughts on the ending and the series as a whole or whatever, go check out that episode, because all I'll say is that in general, I felt that the series wrapped up in a solid and safe way. It didn't do nothing too crazy and outlandish or whatever. It kind of just like, hey, the plane landed safely, whatever. Nobody was hurt too badly. but yeah, so shout out to My Hero, My Hero Academia. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for the things of this. So, with that being said, the last thing I want to touch on, and then this will be it. So, Deadpool and Wolverine. So, I'm gonna mention when I'm gonna get into spoilers, but I'm gonna just say in general though, this movie was fun. Fun. And I took my oldest son to it. So funny, roller coaster of things, whatever, how this played out. So was talking to my wife yesterday when I was at work. I was like, okay, hey, I think me and Jay are gonna finally go and watch this, because no matter what, I wanted to go see this movie before school started back. But the last couple of weekends, he's had tournaments and stuff, whatever, so he's been gone, and then I haven't been able to do it, during the week or whatever. It was okay, finally, he had a tournament this past weekend or whatever, and I got paid Friday, so okay, I got some change finally, whatever, and so cool. His schedule is clear for a little bit or whatever, because outside of school, basketball is pretty much done for the time being. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Talk to my wife. I'm like, okay, does he have any stuff going on today or whatever? She was like, nope. I'm like, okay, we're going to do this or whatever. So I texted him while I was at work. I was like, hey, you still want to go watch it or whatever? He was like, yep. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do this or whatever. My wife then texts me or calls me back and like, hey, my daughter, my one daughter that's here, was like, hey, she wants to go. And I'm like, really? Because she's never really mentioned or shown too much interest in any of the Marvel stuff or whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool, but just kind of knowing this is an R-rated movie, it is going to be very bloody and vulgar and all this stuff, whatever. And for context, for those that might be curious, whatever, my oldest son is 15, he'll be 16 in a month. And then my daughters are 14, they'll be 15 in a couple of months. So yeah, so I'm not taking children, small children. I'm taking teens or whatever. But so I'm like, okay, she said she want to go or whatever. So I purchased the tickets online or whatever. I'm okay, cool, we're set for 4 o'clock or whatever. So trying to wrap up my day at work, because I was going to leave, I left 30 minutes early or whatever. But then my wife is like, hey, Have you already bought the tickets? I'm like, yeah, what's up? So my daughter ended up pulling out, but I think maybe like once she kind of did a little bit more digging into what the movie was and different stuff, whatever, she was like, nah. So, which I'm like, hey, that's fine. There's plenty of other stuff we'll probably go see. I'll probably take them to go see that Wicked movie. That movie looks dope. Uh, but anyway, so me and my son, we went to go see it or whatever. And first of all, I just gotta say, people, as a parent myself, please do not bring your small baby to the theaters, period, but especially a very loud and violent R-rated Deadpool and Wolverine movie, because we're sitting in there chilling, watching all the previews and stuff, whatever, and then I hear like a and I'm like, maybe that's like something in the background of one of the trailers we're watching. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm tripping. And then you hear and I'm like, are you serious? In my head, I'm like, are you serious? So we're kind of sitting, towards, not like at the top, but further up. And so I'm laughing because I'm looking like down, and I see another guy who is also looking down further below him to figure out what's going on. And so whoever it was, they left with the baby for a while. I'm like, okay, cool. And they came back at some point because like deep into the movie, whatever, I heard the baby again or whatever. I'm just like, bruh, why? I'm like, I get it. Maybe you don't have a babysitter or whatever, but it is like, this is not the move. This is not the move. But anyway, that aside. So, this movie was truly for my 90s soul, because this movie has so many moments and callbacks and stuff to my youth as somebody who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, and somebody who watched a lot of the older Marvel stuff, whatever. It was like, yo, this is super dope. So now I'm gonna start going into specific spoilers. So hey, if you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, go watch it. Super dope, super fun movie. So, spoilers. So, there were so many times during this movie that I said, oh, from either just like the insanity of the violence and stuff, or from cameos that popped up. Because, so first of all, so the setup for the movie where there's basically Deadpool, so the TVA and stuff from the Loki series comes into play here, whatever. So they're basically pruning or getting ready to destroy Deadpool's timeline that he's in. And so they're like, well, the only way we can stop this, blah, 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 is if basically he gets a Wolverine. So the movie opens up with Deadpool in the universe of the Wolverine from Logan that died in Logan or whatever. Super awesome, super dope movie, whatever. And so the opening scene of the movie is him digging up Logan's skeleton, which is just adamantium bones now, whatever. And we're getting this super dope killing / dancing montage from Deadpool to start this movie to NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. Like when the music started, I'm like, no, are they doing it? And it was so glorious. Just, I got the freaking song playing in my head right now, whatever. But hearing freaking NSYNC for the first time in I don't know how many years, while Deadpool is using Wolverine's bones to creatively kill all these TVA employees or whatever, while in between doing these awesome dance scenes and stuff, whatever. I am like, yo, this is yes. And then from there we get this very awesome montage of him going through all these different universes and stuff, whatever, to all these different variants of Wolverine and stuff, whatever, to where we even get freaking Henry Cavill as Wolverine in one of them. It was so freaking dope, seeing that shot or whatever. But but yeah, and then him finding the Wolverine that we end up with throughout the movie, whatever, and it was just so freaking fun, man. Like I said, so freaking fun. Even like at the end of the movie, we get to see all the different variants of Deadpool. So like Lady Deadpool, the cowboy one, the floating skull one, baby Deadpool, the dog Deadpool, just all the different variants from the comics or whatever was super fun and cool to see. Now going to the stuff whatever, so of course things happen. I'm not doing a play-by-play because if you're listening to this, either you just don't care or you've already seen the movie, so I'm not here to do a full recap of everything. But we get Deadpool and Wolverine sent to the void because they get pruned, so they get sent to the void at the end of time or whatever. And here is when things really start to like hit the old school Marvel drum beat. So we get Chris, is it Chris Evans, I believe, who is Captain America, of course, in the MCU. Well, here in the Void, he is in his Fantastic Four uniform as Johnny Storm. And like when I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that is so freaking cool. And then we get introduced to Cassandra Nova, aka Professor X's twin sister, who I only learned about her in like recent years or whatever, about her, her and him fighting for dominance and stuff, whatever, while they were still in the womb. And supposedly she didn't make it, but she actually did. She just got sent to the void and da 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 da. And so, like, seeing her powers and abilities, like the freaking scene where she kills Johnny Storm, where she pretty much just does this, and just yanks all his skin and flesh off of his body, and then he just bursts into a pile of bones and blood. I was, oh, and jumped. But that moment was super dope, and just like all the mind game stuff that she's doing or whatever, where when she makes content, she's like touching people, and her hands are like moving around inside their skull, and fingers popping out their eye holes and different stuff. Whatever, it is so freaking freaky but cool. And so they escape from there, and then we get to the cabin and stuff, whatever. And of course, all throughout this movie, we get super brutal and crazy killing scenes or fighting scenes of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is so awesome because neither one of them can really die. Like Deadpool just regenerates, Wolverine just regenerates or whatever, so they're just like stabbing and shooting the heck out of each other. It was just super funny every time it's happening or whatever. But so they have this big fight or whatever out in the woods, and they wake up in this cabin. And so this is where it's just a barrage of osh, back to back to back to back, because we freaking got Elektra walk through the door, freaking Wesley Snipes, Blade, like for sure, because to be real, Elektra, I kind of recognized her, but I couldn't 100% place who it was until they said her name, and I was like, okay. So I wasn't tripping. Probably she had on something red, maybe, but for sure when Wesley Snipes walked in with the hair and the shades and stuff, I was like, oh. And then freaking whatchamacallit as Gambit walked in and stuff, and then we freaking get X-23 come in. I am like, oh my god. My son, he's not getting none of it or whatever, but I am like 34-year-old dad over here like, oh my god. Just loving it. And it goes back to the topic earlier of eras passing, but also not forgetting where you came from, those that paved the way in the beginning for us to get to where we are now in the MCU, and seeing them get proper homage and recognition, because yes, some of those movies and stuff wasn't the best or perfect, but the fact that they were brought in and given a moment of recognition and the honor and spotlight that they deserve was freaking fantastic. Um, but yeah, man, that whole moment was just super dope, and then getting to see all of them fighting together at Cassandra Nova's hideout and stuff, whatever, and then we get the big send off, sending Wolverine and Deadpool back to the real world and all that stuff, whatever. It was just so fun. That is just like the biggest thing I can say. It was fun. Like like I the MCU movies and stuff at this point is just like, okay, whatever. I'm just here for a good couple of hours of just fun, turn off my brain, maybe get some oohs and ahs of different characters and stuff come up, whatever. But I'm not a super big comic book person, so I don't know all the different in-depth references and nuances and stuff, whatever. But through the power of the internet and just being alive for 34 years, I've absorbed some information and things just through osmosis of being involved in nerdy communities and podcasts and different things like that or whatever, and meeting people and stuff, to where it makes me appreciate these things and stuff. So, but yeah, like after the movie, on the ride home, I was asking my son, I was like, hey, so did you know who this person was, or recognize, and then kind of giving him a quick rundown history of, oh, this was Elektra, and this was Blade, and this is what they did, and hey, you recognize that guy as Captain America. Well, before he was Captain America, he was this guy. And the same thing also saying, like, hey, Michael B. Jordan from Creed, but who is Killmonger now in the Black Panther world, hey, he was Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four back in the day or whatever. And so just kind of explain to him, like, hey, there are some of these people that have been around for a while that did previous things. Freaking Ryan Reynolds, who's Deadpool, hey, he was Green Lantern at one point in time. But yeah, man, it was just such a very special movie and moment and stuff, whatever, for me, that, like I said, I am so happy that I was able to still get a chance to go and watch it in theaters. And the fact that I pretty much went in with zero spoilers. The only thing that I got spoiled on was that over the weekend or whatever, I think I started seeing images of Gambit circulating to where I'm like, that sucks, but it's like, whatever. But I didn't really, the pictures were kind of fuzzy, so I didn't get like a really good look at the face to realize, like, okay, what was happening. I was just like, I just recognized the outfit or whatever. I was like, dang, whatever, move on. So, but now, like I said, I am so happy that I got to just enjoy the movie and stuff. So, which is why I love when possible, for big events, stuff like this, whatever. Traditionally, I'll go and see that sucker freaking opening night, hey, Thursday night. Especially especially because for the most part I go by myself. Then hey, talk to my wife, get the house and kids and stuff in order, and then it's like, hey, I might go and see a late night showing or whatever, because I know that I can survive seeing a late night showing on a work night and be able to get up and function in time, whatever. Because basically, I've done showings to where I've gone and then the movie ends at freaking 1 a.m. and I still got to drive back and by the time I get home and settle it's 2 a.m. It's fine. I can muscle through, a few hours of sleep going into a Friday at work, whatever. Because typically probably a little bit slower or a little bit more manageable, whatever. And then I'm to the weekend where I can really chill and rest, whatever. So, but yeah, man. Let me know what y'all thought of Deadpool and Wolverine, and anything else I've said recently or had to say in this episode. I think the only thing from the MCU I haven't caught up on, I think I still need to watch Echo. And I can't think if there's anything else or whatever, but I know for sure I'm 99% sure I'm for sure caught up on all the movies because I for sure making my point to go and see those or whatever. So, but anywho, hey, I'm a decade plus into this MCU stuff or whatever. I have no plans of missing or not seeing any of this stuff, whatever, as long as I'm able to, just because I feel like, hey, once you kind of get off the treadmill, especially considering how much comes out now, whatever, then I'm probably never I might not get back on it ever, whatever. So, but yeah, so that's it for that. So end of spoilers. Now I'm looking at the end of this week. The Borderlands movie comes out, so I'm contemplating what I might do regarding that. So, because I know for sure my sons probably want to go and see that because I know they both have played the games and stuff. So, but I don't know. Talk to them, figure it out, or whatever. So, but yeah. So yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap this up. So, got a nice meaty hour and some change episode, and it's not even 9 p.m. yet. So I recorded way earlier than usual. So I'm gonna go eat and chill and watch some TV and stuff. So, but as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Remember, you can find me everywhere at Dad Needs to Talk. So if you want to conversate or do business or whatever the case may be, or whatever, hit me up. My DMs are open, my emails in the description, all that stuff, whatever. And with that being said, I continue my march forward to school starting. but yeah. So, as I always say, treat yourself to something nice, read some manga, watch some anime TV shows and movies, play some video games, and of course, live your best life. And with that, your boy is out. Y'all have an awesome day and or week, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.